Okay. Good evening. My name is Sarah Latham. I'm the co-chair of the Southampton Village Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation. I would like to call this meeting to order, the Southampton Village Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation on the 14th of December 2020. By way of roll call, let me introduce board members. To my left, Peter DeWitt. To my immediate right, John Gregory. And to his right, Mark McIntyre. Whereas we have meeting virtually via Zoom is Jeff Broadleib, who has agreed to quarantine due to the fact that his wife has been exposed to COVID. She's a teacher, and one of her students who was asymptomatic came down with COVID. So welcome from afar. Thank you, Jeff. Whereas we have a quorum, I move to open the meeting.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Participating and assisting the board in tonight's meeting are our legal counsel, Alice Cooley, our recording secretary, Jackie, and our videographer, Charlie Styler and Kat Styler. Also in the audience is our buildings inspector, Chris Talbot, and I would like to start the meeting with something that had been not on the agenda, but is now on the agenda, with a presentation by our mayor, Jesse Warren, on the concert, the Purist Concert House.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mark, Alice, Jackie, and Chris. Everyone's been working overdrive. I know there's a lot of applications on the agenda. Want to particularly thank everybody, and thank you, Jeff. You're just foreshadowing, what's to come. But also wanted to thank Chris Talbot, building inspector, who's been working on overdrive, especially due to the extenuating circumstances. Obviously, construction was closed for a full quarter, so there's a bit of a backlog now, and so I just wanted to commend and thank everybody for all their hard work. I'm here tonight to co-sponsor a discussion item, which will hopefully soon be a public hearing regarding the historic landmark of the Pyrus concert site, which is 51 Pond Lane. Tonight we have with us on Zoom Dr. Greer Key from the Eastville Historic Society, as well as she's also one of the leading archaeologists as well as historians on the east end of Long Island. So we thank her for joining us. And many of us are familiar with the Pyrus Concert site, and I'll let Georgette explain a bit more about the life and history of Pyrus Concert, though we agreed to keep it brief given the heavy agenda tonight, and that will be back for the public hearing. But as you know, in Chapter 65-3, there's a designation of landmarks and historic districts. So obviously the board may designate an individual property as a landmark if it possesses a special character or historic or aesthetic interest or value as part of the culture, political, economic, or social history of the locality, region, state, or nation, as well as being identified with historic personages, and if it is a unique location, or has a singular physical characteristic, or represents an established and familiar visual feature of the neighborhood, among other designations. So with that being said, I just wanted to turn this over to Dr. Key, who can give you a little more background on the property, Pyrus Concert, and his historic figure in the history of the village of Southampton. So Dr. Key, I'll let you take it from here.
Try it now?
That's better.
There you are.
Okay, so Georgette, you have to unmute.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you hear her?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
It's her.
I wanted to briefly just give you I wanted to talk really quickly about the Pyrus Concert Home. So this was actually the house before it was shared. As you know, the address is 51 Pond Lane. So speaking specifically to the criteria of the house, and this is just going to be really informal, so hopefully we will be able to go on the agenda and have more of a specific presentation and more of a conversation about the house. But this is the house as it stands, and it was actually the home of Pyrus Concert and bought for a very small amount of money from him in 1838 when it was originally bought by his family members, and most of the land around this house and the neighboring property, which is also now purchased by CPF, was originally his property and bought and maintained by him, subsequently by all of his family members. So the property itself is, as you know, in prime property within the town of Southampton, the village of Southampton. So it's very important to the community there. So under the criteria 65 section 3 of the zoning, it's very important property. So this was the house before it was torn down, intact for all of these generations. So the house itself in question, this is the CRIS system, which is on the state and the national register. As it stands, the property itself is in the historic district, and this is on the CRIS system. So it is on the state, and the national, and the village register in the historic district. What you see here is the cottage that we also believe needed further investigation, and it still stands on the property right now. And we've always said that we need further investigation. What you see on the table is very important to the property itself. Under the state, the national standards of the interior, which is the criteria which we follow for historic landmark and designation, archaeology is under that standard. And the archaeology that's on the table, which you can't see verbatim, but you will be able to see, the criteria that we look under, of course, you have the power to designate the property. Under criteria 1, the approval of these criteria, we have some documents that would help us look at how we can designate it. For one, the cultural nature of Pyrrhus Concert and his relation to the Pelletreau and many of the properties within the village will show that he is a person of importance culturally, and his relation to other properties within the village, let alone this property itself, but culturally, he is relevant. Historically, he is relevant. Secondly, his economic vitality to the village is a criteria that he should also be under. The other thing is we know about his voyage to Japan. So in the archaeological finds, we have a calligraphy brush that is specifically ties back to Japan that he was given as a gift. So in the archaeological dig, that was actually uncovered and unearthed. And that dates back to the time period. And it was found in that archaeological dig, and we have that in our possession. The other thing that was uncovered in the archaeological dig, of course, was projectile, which people often refer to commonly as arrowheads, etc. So we have a lot of time period stuff that is specific to the actual property that was there, untouched, unearthed. And that was just a small test area that we used for that actual archaeological dig. A lot of the other things, when you look under criteria 5, as far as the land itself is there as one of the criteria that's the biggest. We also believe the fact that based on the characteristics of himself, the actual property that was intact before it was torn down, the fact that we also have his original timbers. These are the original timbers, and if you see up the top there, you see the etching marks. They look like vertical, horizontal lines. These lines were actually there. And I don't know if Zach is there because I can't see the room, but he actually went in and verified that these were the original timbers that had the Roman numeral sign, numbers, and etc., and that these dated back to the correct era. So these are the original timbers that were actually extracted from the house. So according to the standards of the interior, we absolutely can rebuild the house back to the exact time frame. If you wanted examples of historic structures that are built back, you can look at places like the Plymouth Plantation in Massachusetts, which is entirely built off of archaeological findings, etc., buildings in Jamestown. So we have examples of structures that have been rebuilt back and are historically designated. Mind you, that also the property has been untouched and intact, and will go back on its original footprint. So I have no doubt that this property is worthy of historic landmark. It's already in a historic district, and we also the town purchased the property with CPF funds, which is one of the reasons of how they were able to purchase it. So under the criteria, 1, possesses special character of historic and aesthetic interest and value as part of the cultural. He's a cultural ambassador that not only ties back to personally the village. If you looked on the 375th, the celebration journal of the village, he is there on the boat as someone of privilege that would have that position. Not only that, that is a political position. He left a legacy at the church where there is an ongoing scholarship for widows. He left money for widows of seamen. So culturally, politically, and economically, he was vital. The social history of his singing, his importance to the concept of Northern slavery. Locally, he's tied to many of the properties in the village. We worked on an app with the Southampton Historical Museum. So he's connected to the Pelletreau properties in the walking tour, the burying ground. So several properties there. So not only is he connected to the region, the state, and nation, globally he is connected to opening up trade after the embargo to Japan. So under criteria 1, definitely. Identified, and number 2, the criteria, identified with historical personages. We know that. Number 3, he embodies distinguished characteristics of architectural style. That's suggestive, because one of the things that we talked about as far as looking at enslaved persons and where they may have lived, or the shacks, the fact that they don't have the traditional architectural renderings is the reason why we've had these discussions. So 2 and 3, so we talk about these things, and it's one of the things that we've had some of the biggest discussions about. So when you look at the understanding and telling of who and what the American story is about, this is what we have had the biggest discussions. So there's no doubt that historically, culturally, politically, and economically that he's contributed. So I invite you to consider this for landmark status, and we look further to give you more of an insight in the letters of the people who have been supporting us all along. You as a village have invested so far. These are our partners, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Georgette.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and I'm assuming that the board will discuss further the findings, and also once we have a new historic preservation consultant, we will confer with him or her and take the nomination further.
The board should send public notice of the landmark designation for our next meeting on December 28th.
Will we be invited to do a formal presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Hope you guys get out of here before midnight.
We brought our
See you later.
sleepers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jesse.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm
And
going to plug this in. It's a good UVC filter.
It was the audio interference.
Oh, I see. You can move it too if you want.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jesse.
no worries.
Mayor Warren.
Is there a, potentially a outlet nearby? Maybe up top?
There's one in the front of this,
I see.
if that works.
One Pond Lane? One Pond Lane is up next?
Yes, actually minutes, but the proof, has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? Are there any corrections, or anyone make corrections to make?
Nope.
Nope, okay. If not, I move
Hi,
that.
guys, thanks again.
Thank you, Jesse.
Bye.
Thank you. If not, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes and accept them as submitted.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. The minutes are accepted.
Yes, Jeff? You're muted, that's why they can't.
Yep, that's an aye.
He said aye.
He said aye? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly. So we will proceed with signs. One Pond Lane. Is there anyone to present for One Pond Lane?
Somebody should be present.
Maybe we should do the written decisions until someone
Okay,
comes in.
moving forward to the written decisions. We have written decisions for Jan Split Purchase Trust, 72 Gin Lane LLC, and White Fences. Any comments about acceptance of those? And shall-
Nope.
Great, and so shall I move that we
We
accept?
should vote on them individually.
All right, I move that we vote individually on the written decisions. Jan Split Purchase Trust, 56 Gin Lane.
Second.
Move to accept, second. Aye.
Aye.
72 Gin Lane
Aye.
LLC. Move to accept as written.
Second.
Aye.
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 White Fence Inc., 409 First Neck Lane. Move to approve.
Second.
Aye.
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 Yeah?
Yeah, aye.
Good,
Yes,
thank you.
okay.
He's really behind the sky.
Thank you, Wizard of Oz, thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
So then we move on to the public hearing, historic applications. Thomas and Meredith Joyce has been adjourned. Is there a letter in the file adjourning until, I guess it's after the ZBA hearing, so it will be until the next meeting.
I have a question on some of these, though. The ones that have been adjourned on an ongoing basis for months and months, should they just be removed from the agenda completely at some point?
No. I mean, not this one,
This one, I believe, is pending a ZBA
yes.
ruling, and I believe that the ZBA meets on the 18th of December.
But we did discuss that applications that are pending for a long time should be renoticed.
Oh, got it, okay.
Right. And John Bennett agreed to that.
One Pond Lane?
Yeah.
No, on Thomas Joyce, at the last meeting, John Bennett agreed to repost at the appropriate time.
Okay,
Got it,
thank you.
okay.
So for One Pond Lane,
Yes. Hi,
state your name, please.
Is there
Alexandra.
any way to make Jeff louder?
I can just do a little bit more.
Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Morangello. Do I need to spell it? Or
If you could.
Moringiello from Ultimate Signs. We are proposing a 9-square-foot backlit, halo lit, or whatever you want to call it, sign on the One Pond Lane building. Last time I was here, we put it on.
If you put it on the table.
Yes.
And
Facing us.
facing us,
Okay.
and over a little bit, so Charlie, do you have it?
Yeah, the camera's right above you.
Oh.
He's working on it. Hold on one second.
He's working on it.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the color that it would be, this blue. And it's halo lit, so the light doesn't really shine out. It just kind of illuminates, outlines the letters in the dark. And that's it. It's pretty simple. Any
Are
questions?
there questions
No,
from the board?
It's actually just a backlit sign.
Yes.
And that blue replicates the blue that's already on the borders of the.
It's a little bit darker.
Okay. Got it.
Jeff, do you have any questions?
I thought at the last meeting, we were going to, Sammy was going to come back with the actual lighting. Am I mistaken on that, or do you folks recall?
That's correct.
He is here.
Because I know there was a question of whether the intensity of the light and and what it would look like at night?
I do have, oh, sorry. I do have a picture of what it would look like. It's not the actual light itself, but that is a dusk. I don't know if you can see that. So here's what it would look like during the day. I don't know if you have it on the camera.
There we go.
And then that is the evening photo. So it wouldn't so much like it's not shining out, it's just,
It's not
Right.
like neon
Hey,
So
sign,
the
it's
the
just-
letter standard off the building, the lights are behind the letter.
correct,
Yes.
correct.
And I think the question last time was, do we know the color temperature of that light?
I-
Is it a daylight or is it a warm white? Looks like a daylight.
I believe it is a daylight, yes,
Okay. I think that was the question. We weren't sure.
yes.
The color temperature.
He said that
Does that answer everything?
So when the board approved the bans, as I recall, the board wanted to agree on
To me, that all, if it's too bright, scale back, yes?
totally up to you guys. I was just mentioning what the issue was.
Yeah, does there,
Yeah, I don't see an
That's fine.
issue.
and so, are we ready for a vote, do you
I
think?
think we
I think we
are.
are.
Motion to approve the sign for One Pond Lane is presented.
So moved.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
In the sky? Okay.
Aye in the sky.
Yep, aye.
Coming in.
Thank you, have a
Thank you
great
very
night.
Thank you.
Okay,
written decisions now?
We did them.
we did them.
Okay. Then 109 Hampton.
Yes, good one.
Hi, how are you? So we're hoping the seventh time is the charm. Is that a thing? So we just really wanted to begin by picking up where we left off.
Okay, shall I open this BHNH LLC 109 Hampton Road?
Yes. So hopefully you all the submission that was put in your boxes on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. Questions regarding that? Okay.
I don't think it was a submission.
I think what Jeff has been doing is that the applicant makes her presentation and the board member, and then we go back.
Okay.
Uninterrupted you.
So, as I wrote in my letter, we weren't looking to buy a house when this came on the market. We knew that it was zoned for commercial use. There were plans for a bank to come in on the same intersection, and we really want to preserve our neighborhood. With that in mind, we bought this house with the hope that we could make this a family home. And then the question becomes, how do you make this little house function for a family of 6 in the 21st century? We feel that these dormers that we're requesting are really a minor ask to the exterior, but are very important to the interior. And we hope that you will approve this. There's been a lot of changes that have happened, and I spent the better part of today looking through all of our past ARB meetings. And in our second meeting, Peter, you specifically gave us direction as to what we should do to those dormers. You asked us to don't break the frieze, put them in the roof, make them smaller, make them a half. We did all of those requests. In addition, we even eliminated one of the windows. Your expert historian has given this project his blessing. So I really don't understand why you would oppose it.
Well, should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the conflict here is between preservation of this remarkably intact house, and I applaud everything you're doing. The investment, it's a truly civic, generous gesture, and a fact, not a gesture, it's a thing. Anyway, I've understood we're not supposed to consider interiors in our decisions. However, it has come up, and I've been inside. I'm 6 feet, maybe 5'11", because I'm old. I did not graze the ceiling of the stair, which is the proposed location of one dormer. The east wall of that bedroom, the rear bedroom, is 3'8". In my view, that's furnishable. That's high enough for a headboard. And when the bed is there, you won't bump your head because you can't walk where the bed is. I've stayed in a lot of B&Bs and attic rooms, which, with these sort of funky conditions, and I think when they're painted and decorated, it will be lovely. I don't think there'll be a big sacrifice for the interior. And then I also wondered, in the front bedroom, you didn't ask for that relief. And it's the same condition. So I just wondered why the back bedroom got the request and not the front one. Moreover, the dormers presented as equivalent by your council, they're not in Greek Revival homes. I've looked at thousands of Greek Revival images over these past few months. I can't find one with original dormers. Yes, many have been added later. And that's because dormers ruined the temple, the Greek temple effect that the Greek Revival style emulates. Now, granted, this is vernacular, but it is recognizable Greek Revival. So that's my position on the West dormers. And I did want to see what else, if I could accept them. I agree. I did ask to see the smaller dormers, and I still feel they don't. I think they ruin what is an intact vista from the southeast. And my other point, which is, since I got these, this rendering yesterday, and I apologize if this is a late comment. I find this window, which doesn't appear in the elevations because it's so far set back, the south-facing window of the L, which you see here, I think it's too distracting. And I would also like to make a point that in reviewing secretary standards and the need to, or rather we're supposed to, differentiate old from new. And I would suggest cladding the addition, not in shingles, as it's shown here, but in clapboards or shiplap and painted. And really any color, white, charcoal, really any color would be fine, but I think it would distinguish it and it would enhance the foreground of the original. And that's it.
I find that interesting because at the last two meetings, you both said, all of you said, we're fine with the addition.
I know.
And now this is coming up.
I understand.
It's just like we're dragged along. This whole
sympathize.
process has been unbelievably arduous.
I understand, and I apologize. But it is the 7th, and the more we look, unfortunately, the more we
6
see.
months of this. Lost time, we're paying an attorney for this process. It's costing us a fortune, and we've not even put a shovel in the ground.
I know. You have my sympathy, honestly.
Yep.
No, I've voted in favor of the revisions the last time we voted, and I will vote in favor again, only because I think, the house is being saved, pretty much everything you said. It's been added on to how many times since its original structure. To me, the shed dormers are minimal. The roof has already been pierced with the
Skylight.
the skylights, which I think is, I would much rather see a dormer there from a utility standpoint than the skylights. And to me, it adds to the, ongoing history of the home, and the adjustment is minimal in the entire scope of the property. So I stand where I did
Thank you.
last meeting.
We appreciate that.
I think I understand all the arguments, and I understand preserving the vista, but it's already been pierced by the skylight. And I also want to think 100 years from now, the work you're going to do, we're going to see this house in the 2020 version. But I think we are where we were before, where we have 2 and 2 votes, and I think we were waiting for Jeff's opinion. I think this is where we left this.
I would, if I could have my say, just on something not different, but conclusive. I was, during the 6 months, I kept thinking that I wanted to see some archaeology, or I wanted to see some, like an historic structures report analyzing the existing conditions. And then, since we were saving the porch on the building, I wanted to see if there was any photographic information, because this is something, you start with a resource. You start by doing research. You go to the buildings department, obviously you're not there, but you go to the Southampton Historical Society, and a half an hour there, I found this, which is a photograph from the 1880s, if you don't mind putting it on the table, which shows what the building looked like at the time that the porch was added. And to me, the nice thing is, in a detail, it gives you an idea. I'm sorry, may I hand you that too? It shows more information so that things can be, it's documentary evidence rather than hypothesis. And, rather than cherry picking or trying to understand the building, there is, at least in the 1880s, when it was owned by a widow, it shows what the building looked like. And I think what's nice about this is...
Can you turn those around?
Oh, I'm sorry, sure.
Sorry.
There's evidence for louvered shutters, and in fact, there was a louvered screen on the front door if those were, if you chose to put those back. There's an intriguing fence and gate detail. You'll also notice that there's no shed roof on the one-story addition where the door is, and you can see it in the image to the right, on the right-hand side. Now that roof hood, not roof hood, door hood, does show up in a photograph from the 1890s. So there would be a window as far as adding that. But if you were basing it on pictorial evidence, you would not put the shed hood over that door. More important, I think that it shows that the roof profile on the main building lacks a kick, which is great. The gable return appears to differ from the current architectural rendering. And the nice thing is it seems to show that the cornice fascia board is wider than we thought it might be on the right-hand corner, which is great. I mean, you've got that detail. And it also shows that the corner board is thin. The width and the scale of the shingle facade in that era is also shown. So that's, I think, some pretty good evidence upon which to base changes in the thing. And that
We are going backwards. We are not moving forward. We've had these conversations, and we were told, we like this little eave, this little thing that comes over the door.
Yes,
Keep it.
Yes, and keep it.
But now you're saying take it away?
No. I'm saying that I was delighted because I found this image, and in which it shows the porch on the main entrance. So, I mean, it's there in the 1880s. What is not there is the little one-story shed projection hood. But if you wanted to, it shows up in a photograph in the 1890s. So, I mean, that's fine. But that would be based on actual photographic information rather than a hypothesis. And I think to be able to actually count to see how large the shingles are, I mean, this is evidence that I think you'd be pleased with, because it shows things that have not been determined as far as I know.
But up to now, though, we've really given the green light for everything to this point. The dormers were the only...
But I found a resource that I'm I think is pretty cool. You haven't talked about the scale you haven't talked about any of this, really, and I'm giving you information so that.
That's great. We would love to do the scale of the shingles,
Yeah.
but we've had a conversation about the eaves of that little overhang on that door. And it was decided that this is where it should remain. This is what everyone likes. This is where it is now.
Well, it could, but I'm saying that what everyone likes, this is actually documentary evidence.
Which is a good point, because at this point, we have the opportunity to otherwise potentially change into something different in the future. Not happen. With a different administration, that could be a gas station.
But it had to be
Told.
always.
We were given a lot of information, and we took all of that to heart. Made all of those changes on that visit.
Well, I understand the visit, but I also understand the need for doing historic
2 visits.
analysis, and that information.
And that's great.
Because this is a science. This looking like a
I'm sorry, I don't think there's any conflict between what Sarah's had it before.
got something now to.
But I can't, I'm not allowed to make any changes.
If I'm, so, to this point has been decided. Yes, the plans have changed multiple times. Right now, the primary discussion is that of the dormers. So let me address that for a second, and then in terms of whether you come back with the same design or a different design, or whether you incorporate what Sarah has been able to uncover, could be elements in the next presentation should you wish to make any changes. So, but what the pictures do reveal to me, the pictures are very telling. And as the pictures are telling, and elevation is, as Peter says, essentially, or at least relatively intact. Even with the skylight, it's still relatively intact, and I believe it should remain that way. As you said, it's a small ask, so therefore it should not be a big give up. And I think maintaining the historic value of this house in relative to the and representative of the pictures that are there is an important thing. And to the extent that we can save at least that west facade, I think we have an obligation to do so. I think the board has been very cooperative in terms of working with you to make changes, to make it habitable, and it still is habitable. And however, I think the addition of dormers to that west facade will contemporize the house to the point where, although it's not a perfect duration, but it's not intact to at its original state. My vote would be not to have it with the dormers, and if that means you redesign other elements, now that some additional material has been uncovered, that's a choice that you can make. But in terms of the dormers, I would not accept that as to be approved.
I just want to point out that this is the facade we're speaking about, and this being deemed pristine, I would beg to differ. I really would.
Okay.
Beginning with the 70s skylight, the asphalt shingles, metal gutters that were jerry-rigged over the original Yankee gutter, the windows inside, the muttons come out, the little inserts. I mean, it is not pristine.
I didn't say it was perfectly intact. I said it was relatively intact. And then, but it's all a matter of degree. And adding dormers on is significantly different and changing and cannot be undone once you do it. And, you know, so it's not perfect. But we can save what we can save, and that's what I'm voting for.
Let me have a conversation with my husband, okay?
Does that mean an adjournment, or this? Since I don't have the advantage of being in the room, I don't know whether you're requesting an adjournment or whether sidebar.
Oh, he's right here.
With all due respect, we've been here how many times? 7 times?
There's 7.
And and you're giving us no option. We have to have a house that works for our family. And Peter was in the house for all of a few minutes. I've been in that house many times. I'm 6 foot tall. I hit my head going up the stairs. My sons are 6'4". They'll hit their heads going up the stairs. And so it has to be a house that works for us. It makes no sense, this house, for us. We spent a lot of money on it, and we're going to spend a lot to renovate it. But ultimately, it has to work for us. If it doesn't work for us, we'll sell. And it will become something. It will become a parking lot. It will become some commercial property. And that's what you're pushing us to do. You're pushing us to sell the property. And that's what we'll do. We'll sell the property. We'll sell Elm. We'll get a bigger place somewhere else. And if that's what you want, that's what you'll get. But we're not going to do something that doesn't make sense for our family.
I can appreciate that. We have an obligation to the village, and whatever the use is, should you decide to sell it, that's your choice. We don't get involved in that. We can only deal with the house. If somebody else comes in at another time with another plan, they're going to be subject to the same review. So it's not a Hobson's choice. You have choices. And so...
As do you, and it's a frank, as our own architect has pointed out, it's a Frankenstein elevation. It has been cobbled together, and it is, with a 1970s era skylight, and you'd prefer that rather than the dormers. We have listened to you repeatedly with respect to all aspects of the renovation. There are many things we wanted to do. We've ratcheted them down. On this side alone, we went from 5 dormers to 4 dormers, from all in a row to separated, to larger to smaller, to the edge of the frieze to recessed. Historic windows. We have made so many changes on this alone that I think it's at a minimum arbitrary, if not capricious, for you folks not to approve this as is. John Bennett has given unrebutted examples of ARB's approval of similar houses with similar changes, and they remain unrebutted. And so...
Much more extraordinary.
Mr. DeWitt did rebut them
I rebutted
earlier.
that.
Wait,
Okay.
and
No, you
they were dormers,
Maybe in your mind you did.
No, just now I did.
they were
You provide the
dormers
style.
or other styles.
No. There was a house on North Main Street, just across from Skinner, where this board allowed the rear kitchen addition to be, which was authentic, because I lived next to that house for almost 20 years, to be totally demolished and rebuilt two stories. There was another example that I gave.
Counselor, these are-
An example that I gave of the
Each-
Makamoto, whatever the hell it is.
Each
Okay.
thing that comes before the Architectural Review Board is a discrete.
No, that's not true at all. That's not what the case
that
law
is-
says.
that is
It
the
says if
law.
you have similar people in similar situations, and to say that the addition of 2, let me finish, Peter. To say that the addition of 2 dormers here is more significant than that house at the corner of North Main and Skinner, where there was the entire authentic 1700s addition that this board allowed to be totally demolished and rebuilt with 2 stories and a dormer. How you can say that is just you're in a fantasy world.
Alice, am I right in saying that each case is a discrete case and that this argument should probably cease?
Yes.
Can I say I'm the architect?
But would you agree, Alice?
Yes, and I think we should discuss why they are architecturally different or the same.
Well, first of all, Mokomoto is, I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. We are talking about
It makes
a
all the
Greek
sense in the
You
world.
were about to
revival.
say something. Finish your saying. Mokomoto is what to this project?
It's an 1880s building, and if
That's
I
age.
age, style, and if I had been on the board, that I don't believe it would have happened. These are different boards. We are applying Secretary of Interior standards.
No,
but
you're not.
yours-
You're providing preservation. This is rehabilitation.
rehabilitation.
And it states it very much, and it states that
And
you
you're
can
start-
change it to make it contemporary, because this is not going to be a museum.
I
It might be a
realize.
dentist's office, but it's not going to be a museum.
You-
And you're not
Let
allowed
him
to
finish.
guide. You're not allowed to design, and you keep telling us to design things differently. That
I'm
is,
not.
you
You
do.
certainly do, Peter.
You gave us the thing, we changed the whole back. It had a gable roof like every other roof, and you said you wanted a flat roof. And we we have a door, we have a
That's what I
door in front of a
wanted.
bathroom.
This is-
It has to change. Things will change.
I believe
It's not being right.
If
And
the main
I'm
house,
sorry, what do
The
you
issue,
do? Jeff,
if I
the
may
chairman's not
interrupt,
even
the
here.
issue, all
You're
the
not here.
changes, whatever changes you've made, whatever suggestions have been put forward by the board and that you agree to, that's what's in the plan. The issue at hand is simply the dormers at this point. And again, my view is it contemporizes the point to where
But your historic
what
consultant
historical
agreed were
value we
appropriate,
can
was
salvage
appropriate.
is ultimately lost.
Your historical consultant agreed that they were appropriate. That's the only expert evidence in the record.
Then if you want to continue it and we have other evidence,
We can't continue
we can-
because you're not here.
We can continue this on. But
We
the
can't
point is,
keep going. This is a danger
You know,
to everyone.
never
We've
mind.
been here 7 times in a pandemic. You're not even here right
he
now.
can't be because his wife was exposed to COVID.
you know,
I
that's a low
exposed
blow.
coming
And
here.
if this discussion keeps on at that level, then
right.
I'm going to ask that
Can we-
this discussion be tabled because I'm here because I'm concerned about your safety. Do you think I would? Come on.
Hold off on the safety. You have the historian, your own expert, saying.
I'm not there, and that's what you're saying?
No.
Come on now.
Okay,
Take that
anyway,
back, please.
we're running
Apologize,
forward.
please.
If we do not put
Apologize,
the dormers
please.
in there, if we do not put the dormers in there, can we get approval tonight?
I would.
I would.
I'd vote.
I approved already.
I would. That's what we're talking about.
Sarah?
Okay, can you give us 1 minute?
You're going to need an architect to come in there. You know, Chris Talbot is there. If you're an architect and you can write that out to where he would sign off on it, you know, fine.
Okay, so here's the exact same plans without dormers.
So you were prepared for that.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
submitting this.
let's
Can you
let's
push the
go
decision
ahead
forward,
with
please?
it, Chris or the board, however you work it out. I'm not there, as you remind me, because I'm concerned about you. Submit your plan then.
Okay, these are the exact same plans without dormers.
I'm sorry, can you put them on the table, because they have to go.
There's a
they
note.
have to go under the camera.
I thought we said the dormers on
There's a
one side.
note that says where the dormers are not, and there's a note dated that says, I'll read it for you.
Excuse me, I want to vote with the dormers or without the dormers.
Yes, please.
Okay, it says the 2 west
Do you
dormers have
understand what I'm
been.
asking for?
No.
We need to close for a written determination.
That's okay. I want to vote
Before
with
we
the
do
dormers.
that,
without
though,
dormers.
there was a discussion weeks ago about the dormers on one side being acceptable versus dormers on the other side. Does that still apply?
Yes.
Yes,
We're
because.
only talking
they're-
about
on the
the east
west- on the
It's only
We're
the
talking
west side
about the
dormers
west
here. It is.
side dormers.
The west
The
side.
2 west side dormers have been removed
from the proposal?
East side, you mean?
East side.
East side.
East side, yeah.
So
I'm always,
The east side, because
The east side behind the chimney were approved, the west side on the.
I'm sorry, the east side, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
because the west side.
yes,
was-
we're correct, we're correct. I've
It was
been
mitigated
making
by
that
the
mistake
chimney.
all week.
So your question is, if you showed us the plan without the dormers on the west side, would we approve it?
Without the east side.
Well, so the
Just
east
this one element.
Okay.
I'd like
So
to vote.
if-
Yes, I think the answer is yes. Be sure. We need to be fair to these people.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But we're gonna keep that hideous skylight.
So if we could have a vote on both, two separate votes on both,
How it was original and
with the dormers and without.
The only vote tonight will be
One.
to close this record for written
Right.
approval.
And we can close the record for written approval against this.
yeah,
Yes.
you're not going to
That's
vote.
my question is actually.
Why can't we get a vote on
We can close
Yeah,
the
so
written
it's
decision.
with
okay,
and
we're good.
without?
No.
Vote this.
I want him to understand something, though. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, what is the trick?
Why can't we get a vote on what, with and without?
This is a historic application, so we don't do votes tonight. We have to do a written determination.
Your choice is to do one of two things. Tell them to vote and leave the dormers there. Leave the dormers there, not withdraw them, okay? And vote, that sounds like it'll be a denial, and then you have your remedy in court. But if you direct your architect to take the dormers off, then that becomes your submission, and it will become harder to challenge it. Not impossible, but harder to challenge it.
Okay, can we get it approved?
I'm just letting everybody know that's the way-
Can we
the way
get
it-
it?
And excuse me if I might interject. Alice is correct. There is no vote on one way or the other. There's a vote to
That's what
move
I
it
just
to
said, and I
written
explained it
decision
perfectly for
based on
everybody.
the determination
God.
of where the board is. So
Jeff,
what I
that's what
heard you
Jeff,
saying,
that's what
John,
I just
is
said, and I
that
explained it
you
for
were
everybody.
willing to submit a plan without east dormers, and that has met with approval by the board, such that the board is willing to move to a written decision reflecting that
Okay,
submission.
Jeff, I think I know where we are. All right.
Okay?
So what would
Hold
you
on
like-
for 1 second. So if we get it approved, if we
If you
submit it without the east dormer,
That becomes your
okay,
application.
can we come back with
You
a
can always-
new
you can-
application?
you can always come back.
To add an addition with east dormers?
You can always
Yes,
do
you
that.
may.
Yes, you can always do that. Yes, you can always do that. Yes, you can do that. So,
Fine.
it sounds to me like you want the board to vote on the plan that your architect has presented without the easterly dormers.
Correct.
Understanding that you can always ask a board to change their mind.
No, we wouldn't be asking to change your mind. We'd be coming back with another application
For additional relief.
for a renovation, essentially.
A different renovation. Okay, that's fine. You can do that. You always have the option to do that.
So what would you like
So
us
we would like
vote
to
on?
move forward with this
forward
plan.
with this.
No east dormers on this.
Do we move? What's the procedure?
We have to vote on it. Yeah.
Well, you have to direct her to write a decision.
We just moved to close for written decision based on the application presented to us.
We move to,
Well, it's typical that you're going to direct council to write a decision. It sounds to me
Right,
like.
and that's what they've done, John.
Yeah, okay. Hang on.
Can I hear
Hang on.
a vote of some sort?
You got it.
No,
I'm
the
sending you back
vote
to you,
is for
Sarah, so
written
you can-
decision, guys. Vote is a technical term.
Yeah, you're right. The direction that they've given to their council is to write a decision for the approval with everything but the dormers on the east side. The actual, as you heard the chairman say, the actual vote is when the written decision is placed before the board members, they review it, and they actually vote on it.
we close for a written decision.
Yeah, can someone make that motion?
I move we close the discussion for a written decision.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Thank you for
doing what
these.
you're
Yeah.
doing.
Can I keep this?
Yeah.
Thank you again.
at this point, you can. All right.
Woolden Manor has been adjourned, 16 Gin Lane. The next application is number 4, Felix and Elizabeth Rohatton Trust, 385 South Main Street, C of A to demolish existing dwelling.
I have an affidavit of posting, as I understand, the affidavit of mailing was submitted previously.
Thank you. And you are?
My name is Linda Riley, 235 Hampton Road, Southampton, New York. I'm here for the applicant. The name of the applicant is now Puffin Hall Trust. It is the exact same owner that was formerly known as the Elizabeth and Felix Rohatton Trust. After their death, the same exact trust was simply renamed. So this lot, which is at 385 South Main Street, which is at the corner of South Main and Gin Lane, is one corner of what used to be a much larger parcel. It's been divided up into several lots, 4 lots actually. And this is the most of that lot, of that property. It was the sort of the southeast corner. Did I do that right? No? Yeah, southeast corner. In any event, at one time in 1901, there was a really magnificent house that was erected right on the lake, on Lake Agawam, not on this parcel that I'm here about today. It was called the Asher House, and it might have had historic significance for sure, but it was completely demolished in the 1938 hurricane. There were some outbuildings related to the main house, the main Asher House, but they were located on what is now the northeast portion of the property, which is a separate lot, and there is a house there. This parcel was completely vacant for quite some time. I submitted to you, and I hope you all have them. Do you have my rider to the application, all the exhibits? Okay.
Yeah.
I submitted the 1916, the 1926, and the 1932 Sanborn maps, which show this portion, this lot that I'm here about, to be vacant. Sometime after that, well, what we know for sure is that in 1956, it was subdivided. And at the time it was subdivided, in 1956, this lot was vacant. We have the subdivision map. The subdivision was approved by the planning board of the village of Southampton. It shows a vacant lot. And I also was able to find the survey of and at that time, when it was subdivided, it was Mrs. H.P. Robbins, the same family that owned the big Asher House. In any event, she eventually sold everything off, including right after the subdivision, she sold this parcel to someone named F.A. Zara, last name Zara. And Zara may have built something there. He appears to have. There's no record of it in the building department whatsoever. But what they do have in the building department is a 1935 Sanborn map that they've kept updating it back in the years after that by cutting and pasting when new houses were built. And there is something shown there which shows a sort of H-shaped small house in the middle of the lot that I'm talking about. The only place I've seen it is there, and also there was a drawing from Squires based on some field notes not really a survey, not really dated, that shows a house of a similar, but not exactly the same configuration on that lot. I submitted those surveys and drawings to you as well. What's for sure is that after Zara left, there is there now a house. It doesn't look like what Zara had. It doesn't look like a bungalow at all. It's not that same configuration. It is a straight, I would say, colonial revival kind of architecture. It appears to have been built probably in the 60s or 70s. You're shaking your head no. And why do you, I don't know when it was built.
Oh, I don't really know either,
Oh.
but having looked at it, it has leaded, the second floor has Gothic tracing done in leading, and the entrance also has leaded glass windows that you wouldn't have done in the 1960s.
Well-
So I suspect it was probably 40s but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's no,
I mean, there's no physical document of it, and we understand
there's no
that.
physical document
We
of it.
understand that.
Okay. So, and it doesn't, it's not able to be seen really from the front of the property. If you're walking perhaps in front of the gate, you can kind of.
Yes. We don't want to hear about gates, that's right. Sorry.
I
think we've all reviewed
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, okay.
Should we start talking or not?
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead, I'm here to answer questions.
Yeah, I have no problem with demolishing the house. I do think the landscape is remarkable, and I would very much like to have the existing landscape documented, and then pending future deliberation over what's going to replace it.
And I feel the same way. The house is expendable, and I don't usually say that about, quote, historic buildings. I'm not going to go to the mat on this one. But having seen what appears to be an earlier and very mature landscape, and even some of the trees that are on this exhibit that you showed us, the survey for Mildred Zara, it talks about maples and other trees. I think that it would be a really good idea to have some form of a cultural landscape report, or at least a tree survey, pending a new building obligation.
Well, right.
And I also think that the brick piers that are on
At the front entrance?
Front entrance, I suspect they're from an earlier property, and
They may be possibly from the Asher House.
that's what it looks like. And I would also think that it would be a wonderful idea to retain those.
Right. I don't,
Anybody else? I'm
No, I
sorry.
totally agree.
I'll take that all under advisement. We don't have, the people who benefited from this trust are now dead. And the house is being sold, and we don't have plans. We do have a potential buyer who will undoubtedly come in with plans.
Right, okay.
But can we leave that for then?
Let me interject here, if I may.
Jeff is doing
up here.
lovely.
Sorry.
You know, and I don't know to what extent we can do this, but I would like, at the very least, your commitment that the landscaping and the trees not be touched until a plan can be submitted, because other people have left the burden of destruction upon the sellers, so that they could come in with a tabula rasa and then build. But then it's too late. So I'm not sure how we do it. I'm not sure if it's a moral commitment. I'm not sure if it's part of the written decision. But sure as shoot, we want to see as much of that landscape and those trees preserved, because that's history. The house may not be, but those trees are history.
But we don't want them to be history.
Exactly. And I don't want to leave it up
We have no
to
plan.
the whims of the next person and the seller to take it upon themselves to do it.
Well, and that's
So-
probably because you don't really have any code provisions that would prohibit that. I mean, what application?
Wait, who's speaking now? I can't tell.
Linda Riley. Cultural resources, protecting cultural landscape, that is one of the Secretary of the Interior standards. So that could be, we could be invoking that.
Linda, if I may, just as co-counsel, I'm sorry. I can't hear you, John. As I may, just as co-counsel, I'm sorry, just as a fine point, thank you for that. You have jurisdiction over trees in the historic district?
Cultural landscape.
There's no question about that, but there's no application before you to remove any of them. So I don't see the need to do anything other than act on the request for a certificate of appropriateness for the demolition of the house. If somebody wants to take any trees down there, that's just part of a separate application.
Well, then as far as the demolition, as long as no tree or
During the
or
course of
landscape
it.
is disturbed during that process.
During the
fine.
course of the
That's fine.
demolition.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop.
Yeah,
you.
So now let me present another scenario, and maybe it's something that we can't resolve here. I lived in Ridgefield, Connecticut at one point in time, and it wasn't, it didn't go unnoticed, and it did not happen, where a buyer, developer, whatever, came in, tore down historic trees, and then said, oops, I'll replace them.
Well, and that's,
You can't replace 100 years of growth.
and as a consideration.
So and again, maybe there's nothing we can do about it, John, and I'm not,
I think
I'm not looking to spend any more of the board's time tonight to argue that. But if it's a way of being written into that decision, I would surely like that to be the case. And I just don't know. And maybe that's something we have to talk about it internally.
Exactly.
But,
It would be wonderful to have an existing condition tree survey. It's a thought.
How about photographs? Can we do photographs?
Something
Less
that,
burdensome.
yes, I think.
Photographs, we could certainly do that.
Well, you have something like this that marks trees. So, I mean, there's that.
That's from the 50s.
I know, but there's like a 300, what looks like almost a 200-foot holly. I mean, I've never seen a holly that big.
There are some very nice trees
Yeah.
there. I don't disagree
Well,
with.
between photographs and a survey, there shouldn't be too hard to get an accurate appraisal of what trees exist there.
X.
And then,
Can we leave it to the large ones and not?
I think we should be respectful of the entire landscape if it's a historic property. I don't think that's an
Well,
unreasonable.
it's in the historic district. It's not landmarked or.
Right.
Okay,
No.
Yeah, it's in the
right,
historic
the
district.
house is being demolished, that's fine, but the surroundings, the environment itself is part of the historic district, therefore should be recorded as it currently stands.
I think you could put in a very, 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 very simple construction methodology showing just
Totally.
Okay.
the way you are going to go in and take the house down.
Thank
It's
you.
probably not going to be that hard.
Yeah, well,
Because most of the house will be taken down. Most of the machinery will be in an area of the house that's around the border around. It's clear.
Well, you know,
Driveway
the-
goes right up to it.
John brings up actually an interesting way to solve the question, which is the demolition is such that no trees to be damaged, taken out, or removed during the course of such demolition. Maybe that's a part of it.
I mean, if there's if there's boxwood that's right up to the house,
Well,
there's got to be a sense of.
yes.
We'll put something together.
Yeah, good, thank you very
We'll put
much.
something together for
Are
the
you moving
next
to
meeting
adjourn?
in January.
So we're,
actually, we have.
thank you.
Hi,
That's
thank
a
you.
best-
So we're closing
I think
for,
you're moving to go to written
For
decision.
adjourning, right?
so we're adjourning for a written decision.
No, we're adjourning for them to put in a construction methodology.
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry, Alice.
good, Alice.
Deconstruction methodology.
Basically, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda and John.
Okay. Accept their adjournment?
Yes, move to.
I propose
Second.
to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Sky?
December
Aye.
28th.
Okay.
Okay, Waldman, 76 Herrick.
Nice satchel, I like that.
Lots of new faces up here. Hello, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
I've been exiled, Brian.
Where are you now?
I've been exiled.
There you are.
He's COVID, may not, he doesn't have it, but he's been,
Hopefully not. My wife was exposed.
yes.
Oh.
So state your name, please.
My name is Brian Brady, and I am the agent for this project at 76 Herrick Road.
Do we have
Gotta turn it around.
They're in the file. I dropped them off.
Spin that around.
Sorry.
Okay.
Peter, do we have affidavits in the file? Sorry.
Thank you, Alice.
No, right here.
Thank you.
Okay. You should have this little package. Okay.
Yes.
So to give you a description, this was an historic house.
I'm sorry, did you just want to announce this application? The
Uh,
application of,
I thought I did.
did I miss that?
I think I'll do it again. This is Kevin and Cynthia Waldman, 76 Herrick Road, exterior alterations to an existing dwelling. Item number 5 under historic. Thank you, Alice.
Okay, so what I tried to do with this presentation, you can see that we are not changing the house in any way in terms of zoning or things like that. It's basically just exterior work. The roof is actually going to stay the same, the windows will be changed, and then there are a couple modifications here and there. The whole idea is if you looked at the existing house, here,
I think you want,
you want this?
I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got it now?
So you can see that the house went through a renovation in the late 70s, early 80s, and they sort of went overboard a little bit on the Mediterranean style of the house, and it just was growing and growing and growing. It's a stucco house. There are a few stucco houses on Herrick Road, so we wanted to keep that aspect of it and keep the tile roof. But I wanted to make the fenestration sort of more classical and take it back to something that could have a hint of an historic house, even though it's been compromised quite a bit. So the main areas here, the front entrance, you can see here. If you look on the existing house, the photo here, it's got a curved front in it with corbels and all that. Kind of looks like it belongs on a golf course in Florida, maybe. So we wanted to sort of clean that up quite a bit. The windows right now are casements, but they are just, no mullions in them or nothing of that sort. So I took those out, replaced them with casements, but put mullions in. The arches that are going around the house, there's way too many of them. They're everywhere. So in the sunroom addition, which you can see over here, I took the arches out and made it more of a rectangular. The other big change is in the rear here, you can see there was a bad addition of ribbon windows. So I took those out and put in more traditional windows with a little French balcony. And that's over an existing bay window. And that's basically it. The house is going to be off-white. The windows are going to be their Pella Architect Series.
Color?
The color is bronze. It's this. And there will be dark shutters on it, which enhance the bronze. And it just, it's going to give the house much more of a classical feel.
Well, I think it's very nice, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it from my point of view.
think it's a vast improvement of what's
Oh,
over there.
Yeah,
I think it looks great.
I agree.
I'm in agreement. So-
Yep, same here.
Jeff?
Good work, Brian. Looks good.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
He's in the sky.
Shall I move to accept 76 Herrick as,
We're just gonna close for a written decision.
oh, sorry, we're going to close for written decision?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sky?
Bye.
It would be so nice to say yes.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
We're on a roll.
Got a lot of people waiting out there.
We were hoping to have a lot of people decide they would give.
Now we're back to our favorite topic, gates.
Hmm?
Are we back to gates now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
We
gates, okay. Can't talk enough about gates.
Nobody wants to adjourn their gates? William and Scarlett Robinson, 445 Hill Street, driveway gates.
That's been adjourned.
That one's adjourned.
All right.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I see. Mark and Jill Rashevsky, 46 Gin Lane, driveway gates.
Hello?
How are you?
Do you have your affidavits of posting in
I
place, or did you
do.
submit them?
No, I was told to bring them tonight.
Cool, thank you.
My arms aren't that long.
Yeah. Mailing one is on top. And the posting one is.
All right, thank you.
Would you state your name for the record?
It's Mark Newman. Do you have any questions? Should I go into exactly, have you guys reviewed the drawings at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a new application for a gate at 46 Gin. Property is flag lot. This particular lot is, as you can see on the drawing, 530 feet or so from Gin. It is, if you're on axis with the driveway.
Turn it around, please.
Can you face the drawing picture to us, please?
This one?
Yeah.
Just spin it around.
Oh, these are just precedent
But
images.
it's on camera.
It shows up here.
These are just precedent images.
You just, if you.
There you go.
It's counterintuitive.
Oh, yeah.
But I do have a survey if you want to take a look at that, which I think we require. I had Squires add the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are obviously not visible from
Yeah,
the
well,
street.
You know, I thought I'd show it on a survey anyway. You're going to require this at some
Appreciate
point.
that.
Yep, we like
Can you tell us
surveys.
that distance again?
The
From
530 feet.
530 feet, okay.
I think it looks
Actually on
fine.
your, yeah, 540 feet, you have it on the drawing, so.
Yeah, I think the survey is more accurate than my drawing, but yeah.
Can we start?
Yes.
I think it looks fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Um,
I think it looks
Laura?
fine and it has good relationship to the gate that's behind it going in the backyard.
Yes, that was exactly the point.
John, did you want to make a comment?
No objections.
I have no objection.
Jeff?
Yeah?
No, Jake, I mean, given where it is, now I may be looking at a different design than you have there, but I'm looking at one that looks more contemporary.
Oh, then that is the correct one.
That's the correct one.
Okay. Okay. And the only thing I would say, and this is not so much for this case, but just in general, the appearance of the gooseneck external activator, if it was visible from the street, I'd make an issue of it, but given it's as far back as it is, it's not an issue.
Very good, yeah.
So, in other words, I have no objections.
It would be a long gooseneck.
So,
It's by the putting
Close
green.
for written determination? Close for written determination?
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Want to make that motion?
I move to close for written.
Second?
Second.
Aye.
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 Thanks.
Thank you, Alice. By
Thank
the
you,
end of the
guys.
evening, I'll get,
The survey information.
Was it not submitted already?
No, because I think it's, the drawings have my stamp on it, but somebody asked along the way they want an official survey.
Oh, so
Dr.
that
Jackie?
should be submitted to the building department.
Okay, I'll try.
But not tonight.
Okay, thanks.
the next application is Linda Huber, 390 Alcaster Road, Driveway Gate.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Hagopian. I'm with Linda Riley PC, 235 Hampton Road, agent for the applicant. Okay, just give me a moment.
Becky, do you need a spelling for, no, okay.
Did you already submit your affidavit of posting and mailing?
I have
to the
them right
file, or
here.
you have that tonight?
Yes, I do.
Oh, this is very, very thick.
Okay. Here we go. Now.
All right, we're good.
So this is for a driveway gate in a historic district. As you may have seen from the application, there's already a gate there. The homeowner wants to improve the gate, have different material. I think there's more transparency with this new gate. And, well, I'm here to answer any questions or concerns that you may have.
Charlie, can you hear the,
If you could speak up, that would, thank you.
Yep. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Peter?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I love the transparency.
It's, in driving up and down the neighborhood, it's actually similar to other gates
Yeah.
and consistent with other gates in the
Yes.
neighborhood, so I have no issue with it. And the transparency is great.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
No,
Closed for a written decision?
I just have a question,
Sorry.
folks. On the plan, I'm seeing no external
Light.
activation or gooseneck or anything like that. Am I to assume that that's the case? There's going to be no keypad outside the gate?
I believe there
There is a
is.
keypad.
There is a
There is a
keypad.
keypad.
If you look on the drawing below the gate illustration,
Yeah.
Wait, hold on a second. Below, I'm looking
on the
at
the big plan.
which,
It's at the
maybe you
very,
can
it's
show
at
it
the
to
very
me.
bottom of the, Jeff, it's at the very bottom of the page.
You just open it up completely.
Bottom of,
It's 18 feet off the street.
So that keypad would be flush with the curb.
Right, yeah, so it's easy to.
which page? Or maybe I'm looking at the wrong
On the
thing here.
big plan,
I'm looking at ox pasture, I'm looking at an Aries.
there you are.
There you are.
There you are.
Right above your pen, no,
That's-
No, this
right
is
above
me.
where her pen is. See
I
where the
can't see
18-foot line
that.
is from the
Okay, so
street?
right above the pen, let me just see that,
Keypad.
above the pen.
Kind of a giveaway.
Oh, steel, wait, I see steel columns. Do that again.
If you go
So wait,
18 feet in from the street on the left-hand side,
There's a
Oh,
keypad.
okay, wait, hold on a second. Okay, yeah. So my request is that you ask your driveway installer to figure out a way to activate the gates on something other than a gooseneck. In the historic area in particular, I think that electronic devices visible from the street, surely in the historic district are an anachronism and out of place and disharmonious. I'm not saying that there are some that already exist, but at this point in time, with the proliferation of gates, I think having again electronic keypads out on the street where everybody can see them is disharmonious to the historic district as well as probably any other district in town. So if you can figure out a way of putting that either in the columns or using electronics, I would approve it. Otherwise, I would not.
Understood, but however, the existing gate already has a keypad. I mean, I'm sure my client would be happy to disguise it with vegetation of some sort, but she already has one, so it's not gonna be any change.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. If you want to come back with a plan that has it hidden, that's fine.
Well, I mean, we don't have a vegetation plan here, so there
Well,
isn't.
you have a plan that's drawn up by Aries. I'm sure you could have Tim put together a plan that includes landscaping to otherwise disguise the gooseneck.
I also noticed that you don't have lights. You're not planning on coming back or adding lights. Good, okay.
No, this is just for gates.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'll tell my client, but she already has one there, so if she didn't do any changes, it remains. I'm sure she.
Well, you're asking, so you're asking for approval of something new.
Mm-hmm.
So it's new in its entirety. Okay, if you want to leave what's there existing and leave the existing gate and everything else, then fine.
Right.
If you want to change it, then it's subject to all the opinions and judgments of the board.
And will you
So
accept a written?
what this board member is asking is
I understand.
happy to see the gate,
I'm trying to move
would
this
like
along.
to see a means by which that gooseneck could either be eliminated or as a compromise, and you suggested it, and I'm thinks it's workable as a compromise to figure out a way to hide it. You've got a great landscaper working for you. Just ask him to figure out how to do that.
And will that be accepted in a written submission, or does that need to be presented?
Well, it's going to be part of the submission, and whatever Tim draws up will be what has to be constructed.
No,
Jeff, I'm not certain that
yeah,
you have a majority vote here.
yeah.
I've lost other times before, but if you guys want to have the gooseneck out there and visible, and that's okay to you, that's, that's the way the board votes.
Yeah, if it weren't there already, that'd be a different story.
I think since it's not, if they've not presented a gooseneck, and since it is in as found condition, we might want to move it along by accepting the application that's submitted.
Okay, that's the purpose of having a 5-member board.
Yes. Can we move to
Well, it's for a written decision.
Can we,
move for a written
can we
decision?
move for a written decision?
Yes, you can.
Suppose we move to written decision.
I second.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Laura?
Jessica.
Yeah, aye for written decision.
Greg and Susan Danilo, 199 Hill Street, driveway gates, adjourned.
That was adjourned.
Adjourned to
Yeah.
December
Now
28th.
I move
So
on.
now
My
we're,
favorite.
now we're on to public hearings non-historic, starting with number 1, 31 Roscoe Developer LLC, 31 Roscoe Drive, construct two-story single-family dwelling and detached garage. Do we have,
I don't know where Chris went.
is there mutiny?
Mr. Bennett,
Deciding who's coming.
Oh, okay.
we're ready for you,
Oh, the big welcome.
for Roscoe.
I might break for the border.
We ready on the,
31?
come on, yeah. Oh, so it's John Bennett, and Bill Slight, the architect, is behind me. I'm gonna switch out places with him. I just wanted to make a couple introductory points. And then I'll hand it over to Bill for the architectural questions, but I did, we wanted to talk a little bit about how this has developed. That's how we started. We've had that battered shape, and I'm always very candid and direct with the board, and I admitted that, certainly from an East End vernacular, the only time I've ever been able to pick that up was on some either institutional or public buildings, or even, there's a, Shoprino and Wharton did a wonderful thing over at the clubhouse at Friars Head with some of those elements, and there's the church in Sag Harbor with that, but we haven't been able to find that in any sort of local application for a single-family residence. So that went away, and then there was this the raised reverse gable on the roof, which, as you know, hopefully you've seen the latest iterations. We've changed that as well. We did. Then there was a second go around that had a rather prominent entrance point raised above the fascia and soffit on the main part of the house. The board thought that was too prominent, and there was a lot of open glass. And again, the rear had that sort of projection, so we did away with that. And then, so what we did with the rear, first I'll show you the rear, is we again brought it down to be in line with the moldings and soffit and fascia board on the main part of the house. And also, in listening to the board's comments, did a very similar thing on the front facade. The facade, I mean the front elevation, which of course is the facade. So dropped this section and made it much more traditional in terms of the number of mullions, trying to copy some of the, not technically I guess those are 6/1s on the side windows. So I know, John, you'll probably continue to have some concerns about it, and I respect that. Listen, it is what it is, I get it. And maybe some of but we're hoping
That's been definitely improved from the get-go.
Yeah, no, I got it. I know, and I understand. So we're hoping that this would bring this to a point where the board, and I think we took that, I keep on calling it a watermark, but I don't think it is. Technically, it's it's like a stone sort of plinth or something on the bottom. I think we've significantly shrunk that down. Yeah, because that was sort of.
Well, I think it looks great.
Yeah, we just need 2 more of you to say.
It's a nice looking house.
I totally agree. I think that you've done, Mr. Slight's done remarkable. He worked with the board, for which I, for one, am very grateful, and I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you.
Sarah, just because there had been public comments before, and I don't know if Howard's, I think Chris would know if there was anybody from the public outside to comment.
Yes.
But you should at least ask if there are any public comments.
And we do have a gentleman to make a public comment. Do you?
Yeah, Fred,
Excuse me, I apologize, I'm subbing.
No, that's all right. I'm sorry, I missed the discussion because I was outside. So I do understand there's been another modification. By the way, it's Fred Watford, 45 Roscoe Drive, sorry. There have been some additional modifications to that center section of the house. My concern is I hope you haven't gotten used to looking at it, which can happen. So the fact that it keeps getting toned down a little bit all of a sudden becomes acceptable. It's still massive. Although it has been toned down, it's still massive. Very powerful center section to that house. And again, it's not in keeping with our neighborhood. I just wish something more traditional could be designed. And I think it would be a lot more marketable when they try to sell this. It was more compatible with the neighborhood. I know people have looked at this and said to me, yikes, not in keeping with our neighborhood, and don't like the house. So I just think from a marketable standpoint, from the investors, they should tone it down. As a resident, I wish they would tone it down and make it more compatible with our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that it's not massive, it's in scale, it's in terms of what's allowed in the code, and that shouldn't be the be-all or end-all, but what we've been trying to do here is not to build one of the cookie cutter, I have to be careful there's a particular developer out here, because I have continue to do some work for him, but I think you all know who he is. That's that same, it's like, it's the same thing, and oh, isn't that a nice, if I hear someone describing a 21st century shingle-style house with eyebrow windows and, the whole, as a McKim meat and white-ish sort of thing, I think I'm going to expire. So the attempt here has been to do something that's different, and your code section says, it's, and I'm paraphrasing, it shouldn't be significantly different than the other houses in the neighborhood, nor should it be similar. So I was hoping that you'll reward this. It's Bill Slight is a kind of guy who loves the profession and didn't want to do something. And we've been here, and Mr. Miller is here, and he could have gotten. I'm being a little bit presumptuous, but something a little bit more prosaic or less exciting approved by now. So.
Shall we continue with our comments?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, progress has been made, but those center windows just have not been resolved to my satisfaction. I think they're still too big. And if they would reflect the same 3 windows that are to the, I guess that's the north, east, the second story windows. To the left, if they were of that size and scale on both top and bottom, I would give it an okay, but I think the windows are just still too large in scale for the house.
Okay. Mark?
So that's just my
idea. I know we don't talk about interior, but what do I see when I look through those windows?
It's a stairwell.
Is the staircase up against those windows?
Yeah. Well, Frank, come on. What do you see? That's a very good question.
Is it like the house on Bellows when I turn the corner and I see the window, what I see is the staircase going up the window and light coming through it?
So the staircase is not up against the window, there is space around it.
2 feet, 3 feet?
2 feet. So it is, the staircase is in there, but it's not, you're not seeing steps up against it, they're floating. It is a see-through element in the house.
So it's rather, it's an act, okay. Thank you. That helps.
Yeah?
Did Mark finish? Or?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, let me hear from Jeff.
Oh.
Pardon me.
I'm sorry.
I'm generally okay with it. So I'm not, but on the other hand, I'm not sure the windows, I can't see it all that well from here, but generally the changes that have been made, I have no objections to. Anyway, let's leave it at that. If there are other board members that feel the windows can be toned down a bit, and the applicant is willing to do that, then great.
I think we.
I'd like to hear what Mr.
Well,
Hagan.
one man's massive is another man's cottage. So we have heard a lot from a lot of the neighbors about how dissimilar this house is to what's going on in the neighborhood. And I will honestly tell you, when I first looked at the drawing, I thought, wow, it's really dissimilar to what's going on in the neighborhood. It is remarkably dissimilar to what's in that neighborhood. I think you've done a great job of pulling it back. I sort of echo John's opinion a little bit that if we still didn't have, because whether we're still going to see staircase and light and light coming through, you've done a great job of pulling it back, and you did a great job of pulling back the back of the house as well. Because originally there was that, what is, I realize it's the master bathroom, but still that center house was much more prevalent before. I would still like to see it pulled back just a little bit further to try to blend in a little stronger to its neighborhood.
I think if you look at the landscape plan too, with the ornamental tree we have, which is a big focal point on the front yard, it is smack dead center in that stairwell opening. We're looking to introduce light, not a view.
seen that?
No one wants to live in a fish tank in a small community. So, but we do all adore light. Us bringing down the back roof in the master bathroom was a big compromise because we do have such big overhangs. We're shadowing into
Yeah.
that bathroom, but we compromised with that. We did work that out.
We appreciate that.
We had, so one of the options we did have was putting panels across the upper,
These windows, the same size
Yes.
as these windows.
so if you can, I don't know if Charlie can focus in on this.
Charles will get it for us here.
You just face it towards the board.
So in one,
There we go.
Done.
yeah,
Done.
well, the bottom ones are too big. The
I think-
bottom ones we keep the way they are.
Honestly, if you made that change at the top,
Same here. You made those, both the changes.
Let's
and
go.
you got my
Let's
one.
Just on the top.
Yeah.
But
Let's go.
can we mark them today
Yep.
as approved and go?
because then I
Then
think
let's
we've,
go.
we've made 4 attempts to pull it back.
I think
Oh, yeah.
John may have a future as an architect.
Excuse me?
Sorry.
You said you have a future as an architect.
Well, as long as no one reports me the Board of Regents for
That's like,
practicing
don't say that
that.
too loud.
And these zones.
Are we voting on this one?
Yes, yes.
Frank, that doesn't mean you should be an attorney.
So,
Can I make a motion to approve with panels,
With the alteration to
Placing the
upper
bottom-
window.
The bottom
Yeah.
pane.
panes of the upper center glass portion?
So moved.
aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
Okay.
You got it.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank you very
Aye,
much.
good work.
thank
Appreciate
you,
everybody's time.
thank
Good
you.
luck with your
We'll
project.
mark
you,
up the
Mr.
project.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
All right.
Slice.
we'll drop them off.
Good luck, Frank.
All right,
Good luck, John.
thanks,
Merry
Broadley.
Christmas.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh, have a happy Christmas.
You too.
Thank you, friend.
Okay.
Much better.
Richard Delaquia, 227 Halsey Street, construct second-story addition to dwelling and accessory structure.
Oh, I think he wasn't gonna come.
Yeah, I think we pretty
It
much
just-
approved that one last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was just a formality. There was additional information
Yeah.
submitted to the file.
Oh, right, yeah. last
Okay.
time.
So,
Can we make a motion to approve?
for written decision?
So moved.
No written decision on this one. You can just approve it.
Okay,
I make a move, we approve the application for 227 Halsey.
I second.
Aye.
Aye.
Whoa,
We never get to do that.
This is 220, this is which one?
Halsey.
227 Halsey.
The next application is 162 Woolley
By the way,
Street.
on 227 Halsey, if that was a vote, not that it matters, I vote nay. I still think it takes up too much space in the front, but
So 4 ayes and
All the
one-
ayes have it.
right, that's what I understand, yeah.
Okay. Jackie, you have that? Good.
We're good.
Thanks. 162 Woolley Street, the Woolley Street Properties LLC.
I haven't seen those applicants yet, so can we go to the next one at
Yes.
270 Toilsome?
Absolutely.
We'll table that.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening, members of the board. Brian DeSessa, 2462 Main Street, Suite 7, Bridgehampton, New York, attorneys for the applicants. We were here at the last meeting, and there were 3 questions that the board had asked us to address. One was the landscaping and screening from the neighbors. 2 was the cupola on the front elevation, and 3 was removal of all the shutters on the rear elevation. So we did submit smaller sets. I have extra sets if anyone needs to look.
I wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So with respect to the landscaping, the board, we had increased the size of that planting to 12 to 14 Leland cypresses as a hedge on that neighboring side where there could have been some visibility, and the board raised a concern of potential privacy issues. So we increased that and made it a hedge, so it'll be evergreen year-round in terms of screening from that elevation. remove the cupola again and remove the shutters, which were the 3 open points from when we were here at last meeting.
And the cupola has not actually been removed. This is,
No, yes, correct. It will be removed if the board is so inclined to view this favorably. It will be removed. That was the note, yes.
John?
I'm still not convinced of the privacy from the terrace, but that's my only issue. And it's just essentially due to the height of the terrace versus,
We did
the current setting on the house, and the angle of the property is such that it has direct view into the next door neighbor. And trees, I love them, they're great, but they're transitory. So, a tree could be here today and gone tomorrow.
And we could file something against the property covenant that we maintain that hedge at a certain height to preserve that privacy or screening going forward. We would be willing to do that as well, to address your concern about either die-off or something like that. So a future property owner, neighbor, everyone, there is a protection there. I could prepare that and send that to your attorney for review as well.
I still don't see how you pulled this one off without applying for a new building application. But
that wasn't me. I mean, I'm here to take the
wasn't-
heat on that, so.
It's fine, okay.
It's not mine.
Well, it's not mine either, so.
Yeah.
I've looked at it, I have no problems. I'm ready to approve it.
Mark?
I think we should at this point approve it. I mean, it's funny, if this is what had come in the beginning, we probably would have had, very few objections other than probably the cupola. It's just the history of how we got here has been a little troubling, but I think we probably.
I don't disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay, no objections from me.
I don't see, I object to having to cure, but I have no objections with what you presented. Thank you.
Do we vote?
Can we vote?
Are we taking up the applicant on his offer to covenant to maintain a privacy screen?
Contingent on that, yes, please.
Okay.
I'll get that over to you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
So on the application TDC 270 LLC, I move to approve the application as submitted contingent on the landscaping covenant.
I second.
Are we approving or moving to written decision?
Approving.
Okay, aye.
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 No.
Aye.
One nay.
Okay.
That was John, right?
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas, Brian.
You too. Merry Christmas. Have a good holiday,
We
everybody.
have 162 ready to go.
Okay.
Oh, good.
He said I haven't seen the letter, but I understand he's working on a book. It's all been sort of. I think it should be. So we've reverted to Woolly Street Properties, 162 Woolly Street?
Yes. Lori Fontana, McDonough Conroy Architects, representing 162 Woolly Street. Last time we were here, you requested a streetscape with the house on the existing street. We also discussed the color, and we had presented a white house with black windows. We've since offer natural shingle cedar with white trim.
Was all this in the file this week?
It actually, it was.
I saw
No,
the
it was-
streetscape.
Yes. If you would like pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just pass
Yeah.
this?
Please.
We'll
Oh, I'm sorry, just a minute.
This was, the original was white with black.
And the material of the trim, is it wood or?
Yes.
I think the question was also raised about the existence of the existing building?
Yeah, is that a foregone conclusion that it's being demolished?
I was told, yes, that it is being demolished. It was non-historic.
Well, it is actually on a list of contributing buildings from a subsequent survey, but it actually received a demolition permit?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't think we can move forward without some determination.
Yeah,
on
I
that.
think
Because I don't know if the demolition was the main house, because there's actually 3 structures on that property, right? And the shed in the back is the
Well,
historic.
I was told by the building department that the shed and the lean-to, they were happy was going down because of the condition of it. And the last time we were here, we were told that it was not of historic significance.
The same thing as it having an approval to demolish.
Oh,
Exactly. I mean, it is on a list of contributing structures dated 2014, and we talked about, or at least I talked about the fact that most of the buildings on the street, as you've shown, are, don't go north-south there.
Well, this is a double lot, that's why.
But it's a primary orientation. I would think that pending information about the actual demolition, that should be on file, we should.
Absolutely.
I don't think this has been referred to this board for any
demolition.
demolition approval, so I don't
Well, we
think you
can't
have that
We
authority.
can't file for demolition without approval.
Well, you can't have one without the other.
I think the demolition approval comes first before the new design, because if we do not issue a demolition approval, then
This house will never be approved.
then you're going to have to incorporate the existing structure in your design.
I'm saying I think they can demolish as of right.
As of right?
Yeah.
How?
They're not before us for a demolition. This is non-historic.
That's what was decided last time we were here.
I
No.
disagree, that nothing was decided about that particular house.
It's not decided by this board. It's decided by the building inspector.
Well, that's the question.
That's the
He stated,
But I believe that the understanding now is that buildings that predate 1925, which this building does, come before our board without a determination from the buildings department, if they're listed as contributing structures within the boundaries of an historic district.
And is it?
It's listed on a survey that Zach gave me dated 2014.
who was sitting here the last?
Me.
Okay, somebody said that it was not of historic significance.
I didn't say that.
Somebody stated that at the last. Otherwise, I would have been prepared for that. This is all.
Well, Zach was here. I thought we didn't know if it had a demo.
No,
Does it have a demo permit?
I thought the last.
It doesn't have a demo permit, but it does have an approval from Zach to knock it down. They had asked for that a year ago or so, and they were granted it. It's not on a 26 map, or it's not in a historic district, I should say. It was on a 26 map, so it had to get review from the historic consultant. And he did that. And that's when they moved forward after they received that.
This indiscriminate demolition of old homes in a estate section of the village has to stop.
Well, that's what.
That's been a discussion that's ongoing now.
Well, it's ongoing, but meanwhile, every day we lose one, another one or another two.
And this house is so out of scale with every other home on that entire street that the demolition is allowing this to happen.
Well, what they did was follow the village code. And there's been discussion to change the code, but this was in line with what the village code allows them to do.
I think should we analyze the building?
So let me interject here for a second. What Chris says is accurate. What the board members say is also of need. And so you're here before us to get approval of this building, which may or may not be approved on its merits. That being said, do you think your client, given the sentiment of the village and the fact that this does have historic properties, would they be willing to consider a plan that would be more true to historic preservation, keeping the house that's there, building in a way that is more in line with the standards for maintaining historic properties and building on those and making them habitable and making a valuable property for your client, at the same time respecting the historic nature of this particular house?
Unfortunately, they bought this lot because it was the two lots and they could do an attached garage with an office. So this house was specifically designed for exactly what they wanted, which was why they bought the lot in the first place. So I would have to say no, unfortunately.
Right. At the same time, the board has to approve what you're submitting. So it has to be in keeping with that neighborhood. And that neighborhood has an historic context. So, and I'll tell you from my opinion, when I look at what you submitted, it is antithetical to that neighborhood and disharmonious. You've gone from white to bleached shingles or whatever the color may be, but to me, it appears white.
Well,
and the streetscape is a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Well, I mean, that's
and
fresh.
It very much stands out differently, both in terms of its situation on the property, its view from the street, its appearance in terms of the materials and how they're treated. So,
well, wait a minute. Let me clarify.
It might be worthwhile thinking about how do I preserve this house and perhaps still take advantage of being on a two-lot and making it more harmonious than what is apparent to me, at least, on the streetscape. Okay. I mean, just look at those. Do you see a house
that my client to be punished on the quality of the rendering?
That has any of that coloring?
No, the quality of the rendering.
Any of that shapes, design. It's not, in my view, it's not harmonious, in my judgment, by the standards that are before us.
Okay, so I want to go back to the color of the rendering. This is cedar left natural. The rendering is maybe not the best quality, but it's going to end up looking exactly like this cedar with this white trim once it weathers.
That's not what I see.
I think we can accept that.
You're submitting something and asking me to vote on it. That's not what I see. Yeah.
I've sympathy.
Bring in a sample of the shingle and let the board take a look at that.
I think we know what the shingle looks like. Go ahead.
I have sympathy, having tried to match the real life in rendering my entire career. It never works. I think we should believe the applicant that the color will be consistent. That said, I don't like the new house. What I particularly object to is the garage wing, which is a subsidiary element. Projecting and with the gable. If you could push it back and rotate the gable so you see the roof and not the gable end, it would look better. But I would really prefer that you try to preserve the existing house, because I'm on board with what's going on, what John said. But
Okay,
so.
I mean, I can't, all right, so even if I concede to switching the gable to running side to side instead of front to back, will that?
Well, I would prefer to see the existing building incorporated into a new.
It's not financially feasible for them and what they're trying to accomplish. Which is, the point was that they bought the lot based on what they were told that they could do on the lot as far as size. They complied with all of that. The style of the house is within keeping of the neighborhood. I'm sorry that the renderings don't reflect the cedar left natural. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has a problem with renderings in that vein.
This isn't about the rendering.
Right,
We
it's
can
not
all
the-
agree
it's not
that
the
the cedar
rendering.
will age appropriately.
So
Here's what I would say. If we look at the streetscape at that end of Woolley, all the houses run, I guess it's north-south. They prevent, and we're presenting perpendicular to the other houses in the street, and I think that makes it more difficult, and that's the piece of it that changes.
Well, the reason for that is because they wanted to be able to have the pool in the backyard. If I switch the house to running the front to back, then the pool becomes in the side yard and is exposed, which is problematic for their privacy.
I don't think that'd be a problem.
Well, it is for my client a problem for their privacy.
You get a pool in the side yard, and I wouldn't object to that.
If it faces south, you'll be better off anyway.
I look at this house, all I see is garage.
Yeah, garage.
And just the look of the house is out of character with all the little cottages that are along that street. And I think it's you know, that's my issue. And to boot, we're losing a historic little home in the mix. That's insult to injury.
So I think we can adjourn, we can vote.
Well, I mean, you have to tell me what I have to do, because I've,
Heard what we think of it.
so then you need to, I guess then you're denying the application.
Well, we're putting up for a vote?
I mean, I'm not sure what I'm supposed
Well,
to.
we can either adjourn and we come back and, try to meet some of our objections, or we can vote. And then,
Well, that's why I'm confused, because at the last hearing, it was that you guys didn't have a problem with the house itself, you wanted to see it in a streetscape, and then you weren't.
I actually think some of the objections here tonight were expressed less. The way it fronts to the street actually was expressed as an objection, as a concern.
I think that the reason the board wanted to see a streetscape is what the streetscape revealed. So that's a consequence of it.
Okay.
So you have, the board would like to see a house built on that property. We're not looking to deny properties. We do have the obligation to use our judgment to approve buildings. And what the board is telling you is that this building, this design, this material, this
Orientation.
scaling and everything else is just not meeting their approval. So it's up to you, to really think about taking that into account and perhaps coming up with a design that you think is more harmonious with the neighborhood, and driving up and down and seeing what might be a bit more compatible.
Okay, then I would ask for it to be adjourned, so I can discuss with my client what they want to do.
I move we adjourn this application.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Are we on, okay, then I'll stay.
Aye.
So,
The next application is 105 Hetty Creek Lane. It's a two-story, single-family dwelling with attached three-car garage.
So, the last time I was here, you asked for renderings, which I submitted, and you asked for the views from the rear patios, rear decks in the back, and a streetscape. In the comments from the last time, we reduced the amount of we reduced the amount of glass in the front at your request. They should be. Everything was submitted.
You have them, Mark?
I have the blackouts at colors.
Which one do you want to see? This one? These? These were all submitted. There was 6 sets submitted.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes this one I think.
I didn't see
They're
them.
not, this,
But I have
they're
that,
different ones.
Yeah.
They're all 4 views.
I'll just take one. I'll take-
Oh, they're not bays.
A little less ugly.
Okay.
What also was requested was the lines in the stucco, which were incorporated into the plans that were submitted. On the front elevation, and then these are the views from the different, 2 different, sorry, decks in the rear and what you see.
Sorry. Too many things stapled together.
Comment?
Go ahead.
Mark? This is,
Go.
Well, just to start, I have issue with the balconies on the back of the house from a privacy standpoint. I mean, these are 2 very large balconies. One's 26 by 19, the other's 18 by 19. You know, in the, it just, you know, they're essentially additional rooms of the home that could be used for more than just like, you know, lounging in a chair. I guess the issue is the privacy for the neighbors based on the size and the landscaping that's illustrated in these renderings.
Well, I mean, you can see, based on the pictures that were done with the drone, at deck level, what you can and can't see out in the backyard.
It's not really what's indicated in, anyway.
Where, I'm sorry.
I'm looking at this.
No, well, I'm looking at these, were taken by the drone. These were also submitted.
Thank you.
I have those.
Yeah, this,
You have them or you don't?
No, I do.
Okay.
That's just,
So the existing property has hedges that go around the property that will be remaining for privacy.
and the materials, the trim,
Yeah.
is that, what material are they?
It's painted wood.
Okay, but these bays, these very shallow, you know, they're projections, not bays, in the front, they're clad in stucco.
Yes.
I find that weird, you know,
They're stucco, not,
yeah, I just, you know, you're setting them forward to give them more definition, but then you're coating them with something that by definition has no definition. It just seems contradictory. You know, stucco is uniform. I know you can put some lines in. I find the stucco disconcerting on those projecting bays. I wonder why you want stucco in the middle at all. I don't think the change in material gets you anything, from my point of view. And I would push the garage back so it doesn't stick forward from the house. Those are my comments at this time.
I also wonder about the cornice, I guess it is, floating on the projecting
Right.
bays. I see no precedent for that architecturally. I'm talking about these.
oh, God.
I'm not sure what you mean by the corners.
The top of the bay has a double band.
Has a double band.
It's just a small flat roof.
Well, no, it's got a cornice on it.
It's got a cornice on it.
Got molding, you know.
No, it's actually got a trim band going around.
Well, that's what we're objecting to.
Okay.
The color of the windows, is that black?
Yes,
Yeah, that's,
I think that's something that you'll find this board it's the sort of
so,
flavor of the moment, or had been the flavor of the
so
moment.
And the windows on the rear of the house don't reflect the same as the windows in the front of the house. That, I guess,
what do you mean?
from the color standpoint, these are white.
It appears that on the.
Can't see what you're seeing, so.
let's put that back down so we need to put that back on camera, I think, so everybody can see it.
Okay, that's, again,
Can you put that on the table and spin it around so?
so the windows,
Fair.
all of the windows would be this color, it's called gunpowder. So it's these.
I still don't find it possible to approve as submitted.
As far as what, would you prefer not to have any stucco at all?
I just, there's a two-dimensionality of it, and yet you've got a projecting, the massing I find troubling. You have a projecting garage, which should be a subsidiary. It should be recessive. The handling of the stucco element with the cornice, roof, whatever is implied, lacks weight, for want of a better expression. And the window divisions, I don't think are compatible.
I guess my question is, when I look through the window to the garage, am I actually going to look from the front of the house and see 3 cars parked in that garage?
No,
If this
because
is-
there's
if
going to
that's-
be window treatment.
I don't understand that.
Because it's in a garage.
Yeah.
A large window into the garage, you mean?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I don't understand that. Because it's sort of a celebration of an interior of a garage. It's kind of odd to me, but my answer to overall, like, for the most part, shape of the house is fine. I would like the garage pushed back a little bit. I think the large exposure of the garage to the front of the house is a little troubling. I just think the refinements that we're asking for just bring it to a better place. And I think I do share the concern about the balconies, but I'll understand a little bit more from the pictures. But the garage pushback and a reconsideration of that celebration of the interior of the garage might go a long way with me.
Okay, I just want to be clear so that when I come back,
Yep.
pushing the garage back, toning down the windows in the garage,
This huge glass window that
Right.
looks into the garage, yeah.
toning down the windows in the garage, the stucco elements you're not happy with that area.
The black windows as well, I have an issue with that.
I have issue with the dark window.
Would you be more inclined for this color?
Definitely.
I definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll concede to this color, which is called Gray Matters.
They do.
I don't make the colors.
I agree with Mark, though. I think, pushing the garage back, it just, the garage seems such a prominent piece of the design at the moment. It just, I like the symmetry of the front of the house,
Yeah.
but the garage kind of like, and that window does make no sense.
It seems to me, when, wherever you end up in the front of this, because the general shape of the house I like, that the biggest thing I'm celebrating here are the cars in the garage.
Okay,
So, yeah.
so we're okay with the gray, the white color, this color is good. So I'm gonna deal with this element, and pushing the garage back. Is there anything else?
No.
And just reassessing the size of the balconies and the positioning.
Well, and it would either be balconies or just a covered roof, because there's a covered area underneath and, you know, the breakfast and another covered area, so if we reduce the size of the balconies by half, I guess, each, maybe?
Let's see, how is this? I mean, the way it's positioned now, actually, I can't,
Is it 18 by 19?
perhaps eliminating the one, and based on the positioning of that terrace that's on the master suite,
Mm-hmm.
maybe bringing that back a little bit, but because it's in the center of the property, that might be less of a problem on
Okay.
both sides.
So we'll change the one terrace over here to a covered roof, and this one will reduce the size of that master terrace.
That would be, okay from my perspective.
And when do these changes?
You would
Jeff,
probably want
did
to
you-
adjourn to the 28th.
Jeff, do you have,
No, I have nothing to add to your comments. Thank you.
thank you.
When is the changes need to be submitted by?
Just the Thursday before the meeting you're going to present at. So it's going to be the 28th or the one after, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, it's probably, we're meeting on 20.
So, Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas
Merry Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
By noon, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Could
you.
I possibly get those renderings?
I just filed you. Thank you.
I move that we adjourn until the next meeting pending receipt of changes.
I second.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
That was an aye. Thank you.
Welcome. Jared Abrams, 117 Alaska Street. Construct two-story single-family dwelling with attached garage and accessory pool house.
This is one I didn't have anything on. Maybe I lost the file somewhere along the way.
Hello.
I'm sure it's been on the agenda.
Have your
so
affidavits?
Yeah, so I lost the file somewhere.
Your affidavits?
They were submitted to the file.
Okay. Not again.
So, for the record, Charles Rendon.
So state your name, please. You just did, sorry. A little deep, I am.
Make sure you speak up, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, this evening, I'm submitting this is an approximately 3,400 square foot single-family residence, two-story. The main materials are white painted shingle with a cedar roof, brick chimneys with a whitewash, and gravel driveway, two-car attached garage, and
Speak up just a little bit for the videographer, I'm sorry.
and a pool cabana in the rear yard. So we are,
Does this roof have a flat portion?
no, it does not. The two roofs that are in the center, in between the two gables in the front.
Yeah, the shallower pitch, I see.
Right, yeah, they're at a 7 and they meet at a true ridge.
I didn't see any dimension on the, sorry, I keep bringing it up, on the, that little balcony on the second floor. It looks like it's fairly small, but I'm just,
Yeah, I do not believe there was a dimension on there. Let me just double check that.
just blind, that's possible too.
No, it's possible that it's not there as well. Let's see. believe it projects off of the house about, I guess the walkable space is probably around 6 feet.
Oh, okay.
And then the width of that bay there.
All right, thank you.
And it is covered.
Comments?
I think it's fine. I don't see any issues.
I wonder about you've got paired columns
Mm-hmm.
that support a gable end, and I wonder if a pair is necessary.
And are we talking about?
I'm talking about the north elevation.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I think that
Shingled pier might be nicer.
a shingle, something, a material like that, rather than the
Rather
introduction
than, okay.
of classical columns, a pair
Okay.
of
Okay.
The only other thing I sort of, just because it's kind of fancy, are the hoods over the second floor windows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You've got a restrained design, and then the columns stopped me, and is it the returns, or is it the projection?
It's the hood over the paired windows. It looks like it.
You're talking about at the street elevation.
Yeah, the street elevation. Was it a little hood over the windows?
Right, right.
The south elevation.
Yeah, that was a kind of, just an element to create a little shadow line over the windows, and not necessarily do the kind of, because it was trying to introduce this kind of flying gable and not do extra windows in the front there.
Peter's suggesting, and I think he may be right, that one or the other, not both
Right.
the brackets and the hood.
I think I prefer the hood to the brackets, frankly. I mean, the brackets kind of come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Stylistically.
I kind of think the hoods are charming, too.
You think what?
I'm with you with the hoods. I think of one or the other. I think the hoods are kind of charming.
Okay.
And I actually, my one comment was actually Sarah's comment, which is the columns in the back do seem to be a little, they seem to come out of nowhere. Not nowhere, but it just, seems to be much for the back of the
Yeah,
house.
just trying to echo the columns on the
And what color is it?
white.
Oh, it's white, and the windows are white?
Correct, not black.
Thanks.
We're getting that message across.
Thanks.
Of course.
In the middle there?
Just one question from me. What's the chimney material?
Brick with a whitewash.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I think if you got rid of that gable element and those brackets, I'd be pretty happy with it.
Okay.
So we move to adjourn?
Yeah.
I guess we move to adjourn?
Okay.
No, we
Or
need,
we can, with those adjustments, we can approve, can't we?
Oh, okay.
can we,
That sounds to me like a significant change that you might want to see again, but it's up to you. If that's an adjustment he can make on his plan tonight, then,
I think I could, I think if you just eliminate that projecting triangular thing in the brackets in the front, I'd be completely happy. I can envision that at least.
and X out the pair of columnar supports on the north
Just do
elevation?
like single tier, like.
Means that's something I can mark up on the drawing tonight.
are you comfortable doing that?
I am.
Yeah, let's do that.
I believe I have
We're here to help.
Okay, who wants to make that motion then?
I move that based on the removal of the,
Gable element.
and the pair of classical columns on the north elevation, that we would move to accept the design.
I'll second that.
I vote aye.
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 Sky?
Aye.
Great.
I think we can move along and
you can do that and just slip it back in, right?
can you just sign that?
Of course.
Thank you.
In blood, please.
Well, it is red pen.
Do we have a knife?
It is red pen.
He's got a red pen.
There you go. You'll just initial this, sign there, and I can leave this with the board as a record. That's it, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And where should I just leave here, or?
Can you just give that to Peter, please?
Of course. Thank you so much. Hope you all have a wonderful holiday.
You too. Thank you for your adjustment.